All right, on this episode of Bouts Talking Bouts, excited to be speaking with an individual coming off of quite the inspirational heavyweight victory at Rizin 33, quite the New Year's W there over Shoma Shibisai, getting that second round ground and pound W, and very happy to be welcoming Hideki Sekine onto the program. How's your day going so far there, man?
関根選手、今日はお時間いただいてありがとうございました。本当に素晴らしい、大晦日のパフォーマンス大逆転劇を見せてくれて、そんな中、今日の一日はどんな感じで進んでいますか？調子はどうですか？
そうですね、今日は一応午前中に10時から12時まで今度ディープに出る若手の子がいるんですよ、ジムで。で、その子の練習を付き合いと、あとコーチというか、してましたね。
Yeah, so today from 10 to 12 in the morning, I have this new kid, young fighter, fighting in the next deep event, and I was helping coaching him, I was training him, and that's how I spent my morning routine today.
Yeah, and how important is it to be able to, mentor those fighters on the come up and just be able to impart all of that wisdom, not just from MMA, but also all of the submission grappling experience?
関根選手にとって若い選手たちに自分の経験だったり技術を伝えて育てるっていうことに関してどれくらいどういう意味を持ちますか？
若手を育てるというか、自分たちの盆栽ジュースのチームが、MMA 自体はすごい新しいですよね。ずっとジュース専門のジムでやっていて、で、クレベル小池だけが早くから MMA を志して、サトシなんかもまだ数年なんですよね、MMA やって。で盆栽ジュース自体が MMA がまだ若い状態でみんなで若手も何もお互い協力してやるということで伝えるという感じじゃないですね。お互いのいいところを持ち寄って教え合うような感じですね。
So, for Bonsai Jiu-Jitsu, it's MMA is very new for us. We've only been doing strictly Jiu-Jitsu.And MMA has been relatively new to our gym. And Clever Koike was the only one who has transitioned to MMA. And even Satoshi, he's only been practicing MMA for a few years. So for our gym, for our Bonsai Jiu-Jitsu, MMA has been a very relatively new thing for us. So it's not more of me passing on the information or knowledge or me mentoring the young fighters. We all get together and share our knowledge, and we all straighten each other as a team. That's what's going on with Bonsai right now.
And I mean, I feel like there couldn't be a better gym to train out of if you're a Rizin fighter, especially just with, Roberto de Souza being mentioned there, and just the Rizin lightweight champion and Kleber Koike has just been really carving a swath through the competition as well. So just seems like a really great room in a lot of regards.
今盆栽柔術はこのライジンの中で非常に立場を上げていて、特にソーザ選手が、ライト級のチャンピオンになりましたし、クレベル選手も無敗で、全てフィニッシュしてきているということで、ライジンで戦うには最適な環境が揃ってきたというふうに感じるのですが、実際いかがですか？
そうですね、今回自分もライジンの大晦日に出るにあたって、クレベルのすごいコーチングですごい助かりました。あとマルキーニョス・ソーザっていうボンサイジャパンの一番上のソースというかいるんですけど、今回はマルキーニョスとクレベルにすごいコーチングをしてもらいました。助かりました。
Yeah, I think for me, getting myself prepared for the New Year's Eve event, Kleber Koike was my head coach. He helped me a lot for this fight. And Marcos Souza, Marquinhos, he is the head of Bonsai in Japan. But Marquinhos and Kleber, these two really helped me out with my previous fight. And that's what showed.
Yeah, and it just seems like there's such tight bonds there, and just, with Souza also being on the New Year's Eve card, can he just speak to, I guess, the feelings with the whole timeline of just, getting in that hard work in the preparations, and then both getting victories on such a huge event like the New Year's Eve card? Like, just how satisfying is all of that there, just having the camaraderie among victorious teammates there?
盆栽柔術は非常に見ていて絆が強いというふうに感じるんですけれども、今回こういう大晦日の大舞台で、ソウザ選手、そして関根選手、共に戦って共に勝利をしたという結果になったんですけども、その後の過程とか、その両者勝った後のこの気持ちというものを説明していただけますか？
そうですね。自分の場合は盆栽柔術、今近くに2つ道場がありまして、で自分がいる浜松道場はサトシ・ソウザと自分がいて、で岩田道場っていうもう一個の盆栽ジャパンの本部ですね、そちらはマルコス・ソウザとクレベル小池がいるんですよ。で、週のうち半分が独自に練習して、もう半分が集まって、選手連というかプロ連をやってる状態で、自分の場合は毎日サトシ・ソウザとスパーリングをやって、とにかくもう毎日追い込んでもらってるんで、ライジンでもスタミナ勝負になった時に勝てたんだと思います。で、そういったこともあってサトシ・ソウザの試合後のインタビューでも私に対する関根さんがいつも頑張ってるから自分も頑張れるっていうそういった発言もあったんだと思います。自分に関しても今回勝ったのはいつも自分を追い込んでくれるサトシやクレベル、マルキニョスのおかげだと思って年明けてからもすごいお礼も言いに行きましたし、よりこれから盆栽柔術を盛り上げていこうということで絆が深まりました。
So currently, Bonsai Dojo has 2 locations. And in one location, it's Souza and myself. And the other location, there's Marquinhos and Kleber. So we usually train half the time of the week, we train at our own locations. And the remaining half, we get together and spar. But for me, I always spar with Satoshi every day. He pushes me hard every day. And I think that's one of the reasons why when the fight came down to stamina and the grittiness, I was able to take that fight because of the hard sparring with Satoshi every day. And even Satoshi mentioned in his post-fight interview, he said that Sekine is working hard every day, so that's why I couldn't give up. I had to work harder to keep up. And I feel the same way. The reason why I'm here is because Satoshi, Kleber, Marquinhos, they push me hard every day during practice. And I'm very grateful for that. I do feel fortunate to have such a great team. Even after the event, once we had our New Year's beginning, I went over there and showed them my respect and gratitude. And I think because of this event and what we all went through as a team, I think we even have a tighter bond.
Yeah, and it seemed like from my layman perspective, at least, there was a big momentum shift in, probably that halfway mark in the first round with the grappling and the ground and pound, like as you mentioned, just really being able to push that pace and show the grit and whatnot. Is there a tangible sense of feeling that momentum swing in the fight? Did you really feel that kind of swinging in your favor in a big way at about that halfway mark in the first round?
関根選手は大晦日の試合で、試合の流れが変わった瞬間、私が見ていて、思ったのが、1ラウンドの中盤以降から流れがガラッと変わったように感じたんですが、でそこからは、関根選手が こう徐々にこう支配していって、フィニッシュに至ったということなんですが、関根選手自身はこう戦っていて、そこのこうターニングポイントというものは実際手応えを感じましたか？
そうですね。どこで実際変わったかっていうのはわからないんですけど、1ラウンドボコボコにやられていたところで、セコンドのマルコス・ソーザが、諦めるなとずっと言ってくれて、でもう少しだけ頑張ってみよう、もう少しだけ頑張ってみようとやってるうちに、自分の中でこれはいけるなと思ったのはジャーマンスープレックスの後ですかね。そこでシビサイ選手の力が急激にこうなくなっていくのが感じられました。はい。
So for me, I'm not quite sure where the tides changed, but I really remember in the first round when I was in a very dangerous position and I was getting pounded over and over. I do remember Marcos shouting, "Don't give up, hang in there." And I remember hearing that voice and then thinking to myself, okay, I'm going to hang in there for a little longer. I'm going to try a little longer. I'm going to try to wear it out. And then for me, when I knew that the tides have completely turned was after I threw the German suplex, I felt Shibisai wearing down significantly. He definitely slowed down, and that's when I knew that I could probably win this fight.
Yeah, and it's curious you mentioned the German suplex there, because it seems like in a pro wrestling context, that's like a big maneuver that Hideki goes to. But also, obviously connecting on it in a MMA kind of context, like how satisfying is it to execute a maneuver like that in a shoot fight kind of context?
ジャーマンスープレックスは関根選手がプロレスでもよく出す技だと思うんですけれども、それを実際の MMA の試合で決めた時のこの、爽快感というか、そういう気持ちの高揚っていうものはありますか？
そうですね。実際は勝つためだけを考えた時には前に崩してそのままバックポジションで寝技に移行するのがそれが一番スタミナを消費しないいい方法ってことは分かっているんですけど、自分の場合はプロレスラーとして入場もUWF のメインテーマで入ったわけですし、プロレスラーとして大晦日の伝統ある格闘技に挑み、プロレスラーとして勝ちたかったんで、あそこはジャーマンスープレックスに行くしかないというか、自分の中で。で、実際バックついてクラッチした時にはもういつでも投げれるっていう自信はあったんでですね。本当にああいう場でジャーマンスープレックスで投げれたってことは自分としてもすごいもう嬉しいし、ファンも喜んでくれてるんですごい良かったです。はい。
はい。Yeah, so if I know that if I was just going in there to win the fight, the better way was to trip him down, take his back, and control the fight from there. And that definitely conserves a lot more energy. It's just much a smarter way to fight if I just wanted to get that win. But for me, I went in there as a pro wrestler. I walked out to the UWF main theme. So I was standing in that New Year's Eve, that traditional, prestigious New Year's Eve ring with the pride of a pro wrestler. So when I got in that position, when I took his back and when I got the grip, my choice was to do that, throw that German suplex no matter what. So with all that being said, I'm very satisfied being able to pull off the German suplex in an MMA ring on the New Year's Eve event, and the fans liked it as well. So for me, it all worked out, and I do feel satisfied.
Yeah, and Hideki mentioned coming out to the UWF theme song. I mean, I imagine it's very cool when he has opportunities to compete under UWF rules, which I've noticed he's gotten to do on at least a couple of occasions there. So can you talk about just, I guess the joy, some of the associated feelings with getting to have pro wrestling contests under those UWF rules?
先ほど関根選手 UWF の入場曲というふうにおっしゃったんですけれども、実際関根選手も何戦か UWF ルールで試合されてると思うんですが、実際にその UWF ルールで戦えるっていうことはどういう意味を持ちますか？どんな感覚ですか？ UWF ルールで戦うということは。
そうですね、自分が20歳の頃、若い頃にファンとして見に行っていた UWF のプロレスなんですけど、そこからプライド、UWF がプライドに変化して、UWF の選手だった桜庭選手や高山選手が活躍している。で、そういったことに全て憧れて、自分は若い頃ファンとしていつも会場に見に行ってたんですよ。で、今、格闘家として、プロレスラーとして、UWF ルールのプロレスで試合をするってことが、なんていうんですかね、若い頃の夢というか、なんというか、実際に3年、4年ぐらい前から試合やってるんで、もう20戦ぐらいは UWF ルールでやってるんですけど、そういった、なんていうんですかね、若い頃からのすごい思いがあるからこそ、プロレスでも試合をするし、MMA でプロレスの強さっていうのを証明したいっていう強い思いがあります。はい。
So for me, I started off as a fan. I would go to these UWF pro wrestling fight events. I remember I was 20 years old, just a kid, and then the UWF kind of transitioned into Pride, and Sakuraba-san, Takayama-san, those fighters would become big names in Pride. And I looked up to these fighters, and I was inspired by them, and which made me want to pursue my career in MMA. So, for me, starting off as a fan, being able to compete in the UWF under UWF rules, it's almost like a dream, right? And I've fought over 20 fights under UWF rules now, but all this happened because of my passion. I kept my passion from when I was still a young kid. So I think, those are the key points and elements. And for me, I'm just very blessed, and I feel fortunate that I am being able to do what I love so much.
That's intriguing. So would it be fair to say then that, Nobuhiko Takada coming over to headline the first Pride event against Rickson Gracie was that big, entry point moment into being a fan of mixed martial arts, just because Takada was such a megastar with UWF then?
関根選手からして、そのプライドが一番最初に始まったプライド1のメインイベントが、その高田信彦さん選手対ヒクソン・グレイシー選手。これがプライドを始めたわけなんですが、関根選手にとってもこれも一つのきっかけになりましたか、この高田対ヒクソン戦が。
そうです。もちろんそうです。高田ヒクソン戦、そして、その後の船木ヒクソン戦、もちろん、高山さんドンフライ戦もそうだし、UWF 選手の試合が、やっぱ、自分は UWF のプロレスラーになろうとしてたんで、なれなかったですけど、もう UWF の選手の試合がきっかけだったってことは間違いないです。
Yeah, so most definitely, Takada versus Rickson Gracie, that's definitely undeniably one of the fights that got me into MMA. I wanted to be a UWF pro wrestler. I eventually could not be able to become one, but for me, any fight where the UWF fighters would perform well, such as the Takada Rickson fight, Funaki Rickson fight, Takayama Don Fry fight, all those fights are just one of the fights that continued to get me intrigued with the sport.
And I think the fandom part, while also being a prominent competitor, is very cool. Like, I was seeing an interview where Hideki was saying he's been a paying fan for the New Year's Eve events for about 20 some odd years. Can he even put into words how amazing it is to, be a competitor on one of those big New Year's Eve cards and get a big victory and everything like that? Just, I imagine that'd be a hugely euphoric moment, just being such a well-entrenched fan.
関根選手が先ほどおっしゃった本当に若い頃からのこのファンとしてのこの情熱だったり、本当に大晦日はいつもお金払って大晦日の会場に行ってたとインタビューでもおっしゃってましたが、そういう情熱を持ち続けて昨年大晦日自分がそのリングに立てたっていう、多分おそらく言葉に表すには本当に足りないと思うんですが、本当にどういう感覚なんですか、ファン。
そうですね。自分の場合は大晦日出れると言ったことで、もうそこで大晦日の試合、大晦日の格闘技に出場が決定したところで、もう自分の夢はほぼ叶ったも同然というか、そんな感じでした。ただ同じように UWF に夢を見た自分と同世代のファンたちの代表としては、そこで満足するんじゃなくて、そこで UWF のプロレスを見せるというか、UWF のプロレスで勝つことが今度は至上命題に変わったわけですね。ファン代表として。だからこそあそこまで頑張れたのかなっていう思いは今あります。はい。
So for me, obviously it was like a dream come true. I was on cloud nine. Words cannot describe how I felt being there. And for me, it should have been over. Like, for me, mission accomplished. I should have been satisfied just by being at that ring. But when you think about it, I was the one who held the fan, coming from a fan base with a passion that continued to follow the sport. And I finally made it on this prestigious event. So from here, I feel like I had to represent all the UWF fans who are my age, who wanted to be a UWF pro wrestler, who wanted to be a fighter, who wanted to be fighting on the big stage. Now is my turn to represent my age, the fans who shared the same passion back then. And I wanted to show the strength of the UWF, of the strength of a pro wrestler. So that's when I felt like I was determined to win. And I think that mentality gave me that additional boost to make me weather the storm of the beating in the first round and then come out victorious.
Yeah, just such a cool dynamic in many regards. And we've talked about, being in pro wrestling and competing in multiple bouts under UWF rules and such a great promotion. But something I was also curious to ask about that I saw on his pro wrestling match aggregator there was a matchup whereby he was on one team and deathmatch legend Atsushi Onita was on the other team there. And the match type said current blast death. So I was curious about that. Like, what exactly are the rules and components of the current blast death match?
ちょっと UWF スタイルのこの最近関根選手がやった大仁田選手とのデスマッチの、自分は映像見れていないんですが、カウントブラストマッチというものなんですが、このルールって具体的にどういうものなのか、大仁田選手はどういうものなのかちょっと教えていただけますか？
本田選手っていうのはUWA プロレスが全盛期の頃にFMW というデスマッチ主体のプロレス団体を主催していて、今も電流爆破マッチとかをやってるんですよ。でおそらくインタビュアーの方が言ってるのは、昨年の8月に川崎球場で本田敦と電流爆破デスマッチをやった時のことを言ってると思います。
なるほどですね。はい。じゃあ、電流爆破のことですね。
はい。
わかりました。So, Atsushi Onita is another pro wrestler who had his own organization called FMW, and they pretty much did death matches for their fights. And the most famous one would be the electric barbed wire ring match. And I think that's what you're referring to from when I fought Onita-san in August. It's the electric barbed wire ring.
Yeah, and what was it like working in a match type like that? Because obviously quite a bit different than the UWF, like mat-based work shoot kind of style. And yeah, very much a different style with the FMW deathmatch approach. So what was it like getting to compete in that kind of framework? What are the memories of that?
実際、鬼田選手が電流爆破の試合とかやられて、それは実際どういった経験でした？どういった感覚なんですか？
そうですね、自分は UWF プロレスがすごい好きで UWF のプロレスラーになろうとしてましたけど、実際にはUWF の興行自体が1ヶ月に1回とかだったんで、いろんな全日本プロレス FMW もういろんな全日本女子プロレスとかいろんなプロレスを見に行ってたんですよ。でその中でやっぱ大手敦っていうのもプロレスラーのカリスマの一人で当時よく見に行ってたわけですから、憧れですね、大手敦っていうのも。だから昨年8月に大手敦とデスマッチができたっていうのはやっぱり夢の一つが叶ったという感覚でしたね。
So, for me, I was a big fan of UWF, but, FMW was still big. It was a major league back then. And Onita was definitely one of my idols. He was a charismatic figure in the business back then. So for me, I would watch both. And for me to be able to compete or, work with Onita was definitely another dream come true for me.
Yeah, well, that's cool to hear, definitely. Two promotions that I myself quite enjoy watching as well. But one of my last questions here, because no stranger historically to competing for heavyweight championships. Like I was seeing back in the day when you fought Brandon Vera for the title within one, and no champion cemented as of yet in the heavyweight ranks for Rizin. Have you heard any, discussions at any point or any kind of trending towards maybe cementing a heavyweight champion? Because I imagine that would be something that Hideki would be interested in, considering the momentum he has.
今、関根選手がライジンでこの大晦日で勝利をして、過去にも1でブランドン・ベラと、タイトルマッチなどを行ったんですけれども、今現在ライジンではヘビー級のタイトルマッチ、チャンピオンシップっていうものはないんですけれども、関根選手としてはそこら辺に対してのモチベーションってありますか？
そうですね、タイトルマッチがあれば当然やりたいですけど、自分としては夢の舞台であるライジンがずっと続いてくれればいいなと、そのために自分が試合をして協力ができることがあれば歴史の一つのなんていうんですかね、歯車というかライジンの一つの歴史の一つになれるんだったら嬉しいですから、もうタイトルマッチだろうがそうじゃなかろうが一試合でもいい試合をして協力をしていきたいという気持ちです。はい。
For me, obviously, a title fight would be nice, but that's not my intention right now. For me, I want to continue this tradition. I want Rizin to continue, and I want this I don't want this fire to go out. So if there's anything I can do to contribute to Rizin, and if one of my fights, if my performances, my fights, if that helps Rizin and this tradition to continue, that's all I ask for. Obviously, a title fight during the process would be nice, but I'm not going to ask for that. All I ask for is this tradition to continue.
Well, that's an awesome attitude to have for sure, one that I definitely enjoy. But the nickname being Shrek, I have a couple questions with that. I mean, I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this, because there was a bit of an unusual video circulating around years ago called Shrek is Love, Shrek is Life. I'm kind of wondering if Hideki has ever seen that video by chance.
関根選手、リングネームがシュレックっていうことなんですが、過去に、シュレック is love, シュレック is life というロゴというか T シャツがこう出回ったことがあるんですけども、そちらってご存知ですか？ご覧になったことあります？
知らないです。
I am not aware of that.
Well, perhaps something that can be checked out after the interview there, but also I was kind of curious as to the broader, I guess, backstory of that. Like, who gave the nickname and when did that all come about?
ちょっと次の質問なんですけど、そのシュレックっていうニックネームってどういういきさつでこうなったんですか？
そうですね、今回のライジンの前に自分で告白したんですけど、自分の場合は霞田選手、いわゆる巨人病という病気にかかってこのような顔とこのような体になったわけですけど、そもそものシュレックの映画のシュレックですね、キャラクターのモデルが同じ病気の方、その方もちょっとプロレスでやってたみたいなんですけど、シュレックのモデルとGoogle などで検索してもらえると出てくる人なんですけど、本当シュレックそっくりなんですね、その人は。でその人がモデルになったわけで、自分も同じ病気になったところ、今の防災柔術に入門する際に、サトシやマルキーニョスのお兄さんのマウリシオ・ソーサという先生が私を見た瞬間にシュレックだとニックネームをつけてくれたのが最初ですね。はい。
So I actually made a confession before the Rizin fight, but I have giantism. It's a condition where it makes me look like how I am, and when you look up the origin of the character Shrek, he was based off of another performer with the same condition. And when you look him up, he looks exactly like the character Shrek. So with that being said, when I first joined the Bonsai team, Souza and Marquinhos' older brother, Mauricio Souza, he looked at me and said that I look exactly like Shrek. So that just stuck.
Yeah, well, that's interesting to get the backstory, and cool that it's tied into the bonsai culture overall. But, Hideki has been really great with his time, and I definitely appreciate it, but also want to be mindful of his schedule. So is there anything he might want to add kind of as a parting thought as we're wrapping up?
関根選手、もうこれで本当にお時間たくさんいただいて本当にありがたいです。もし何か読者だったり、視聴者の方に伝えたいことがあればご自由に発言してください。
はい。自分が勝利者マイクで言いたかったことは今自分が言った通り、自分も今手術をしてその巨人病自体は治ったんですけど、未だいろんな各種ホルモンや血液検査をしないといけない状況で病気として苦しい部分はあります。だけど諦めずに否定的ネガティブにならずに頑張って生きていれば必ずいいことはあるんでとにかくもう病気でも不幸なことがあっても前を向いて 歩いていきましょうと、しっかり、前向きに考えて生きていきましょうということを言いたいです。
はい。So what I wanted to say, this is kind of similar to what I said after the fight. But I had this condition. I went under surgery, and my condition is currently stable. But I still have, annual checkups, and I have to take some medication. And it's not fun, and it's not easy. But no matter what I want to say is that no matter what situation or whatever condition you're put in, you can't be negative. You can't get the situation eat you up. You have to stay positive. Don't quit and never give up. And good days will come. And no matter how unfortunate you feel, no matter how bad times, keep your head up and stay positive, and things will get better. And that's what I want to tell. That's the message I want to pass on.
Incredible way to end things off, and just really appreciate, both of you for the time and the insights and everything, and just, thanks so much, Hideki, and hopefully you have a great rest of your day there, man.
本当に素晴らしいメッセージでした。本当にありがとうございました。今日お時間いただいて、残りの日、素晴らしい日になるように願っています。今日はありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
先生、ありがとうございました。すいません。
ありがとうございました。はい。
すいません。よろしくお願いします。ありがとうございました。
はい。
失礼します。
失礼します。
Okay, Dylan, thank you very much.